one of the things that, you mentioned that there was a period when you were working with startups and, doing a lot of that stuff, right? So it's very tempting times right now. Very often I speak to executives and then suddenly they're thinking, should we continue down this path, or is there an opportunity to make millions in, a startup and selling out? And so what is your advice? When should they take that plunge, or what is it that they should consider?
So listen, the answer is not very different from what you would do in corporate, right? Again, the objective function has to be correct, right? If you do a startup believing you're going to make millions, then that's the complete wrong objective, right? Because the stats are clear. I've been a venture capitalist and I've seen it in my face, right? Only 1 out of 30 or 40 startups make it to the next level. Forget about being successful, right? So if you made a startup and then you got some friends and family to invest, and you want to get to an institutional check, right, which is not successful by any means, the odds are 3%. And then from every step from there, the odds are another 3%, right? So you're taking on something which is a remarkably low probability of success. So first of all, you have to be reconciled that you're going to take on something which very likely in 5 years or 3 years or 2 years, you will have declared as a failure. So again, the objective has to be correct. It cannot be, hey, listen, I'm doing a startup because if I do it, it's like a lottery show, right? Overnight, I'm going to become very rich. There's nothing like that, right? In fact, all the overnight successes are people who work for 15, 20 years at a game and then finally something clicked for them. Right? So that's one, the objectives have to be correct, right? Secondly, if you really believe that you have an idea which is great and you have conviction and passion to chase the idea at the cost of everything else, you should absolutely do it, right? I think, this again comes from the conviction of the idea, right? It's not the fact that, hey, startups are cool and I want to do a startup. So if you have a conviction of a startup, I think you should do it. I strongly believe, right, and this was something a mentor told me, right, is that before you know whether the shoe fits you and you want to buy it, why don't you walk around in it a bit, right? And my advice, and again, this may be very conservative, right? Why don't you get involved in helping a couple of startups, maybe do a job at a startup, I don't know, to see if it's absolutely for you, right? And to be fair, I believe, right, 90% of the people who get attracted by this building a startup is actually not what they should be doing. They should be doing other things, right? So again, experience it a bit if you can before taking a shot. But for me, the reasons have to be correct. The motivation has to be correct. You have to have an idea which you believe. And then again, I'm repeating an old point. It should be, in my opinion, a syndicated risk, right? I cannot imagine, at least the way I am built, that I'm going to do ever a startup on my own, right? I would much rather get together with a couple of guys and then see how that is built and build it. So again, there has to be some thinking. I think the good news is we are now living in a world where some of that bubble has got deflated, right? And I was at an IIT yesterday talking that I think it's a great time for recruiters because no one is now coming to the IITs and offering overinflated salaries, right? I think you guys are seeing what the market is really worth, right? And you're not seeing what is inflation. So again, if you have conviction, if you have passion, you should do it. If you believe it's an idea which you can build, you should do it. If you can get a couple of friends or a couple of colleagues or a couple of collaborators along with you, better. But again, don't do it because you're reading the newspaper that if someone's become a billionaire, someone's becoming a millionaire. First of all, let me tell you a secret. Right? They're all paper millionaires and billionaires. Right? They don't have millions and billions of dollars in their bank. Right? If tomorrow their companies go bankrupt, their worth is zero. Right? And you've seen spectacular cases like this happen also. Right? So again, do it for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons, which often come across in the media.